The New York Mets are in town, and it is a beautiful night for Chicago Cubs baseball from Wrigley Field. We're on WCIU and Cubsnet for the beginning of a very quick two-game series. The Cubs are 5-1 on this homestand. It's the Mets and the Cubs in Game 1. Hi again, everyone. Alongside Bob Brenly, I'm Len Casper. Should be a great night for baseball. The Cubs are scoring runs. Let's hope that continues tonight.
It's a real good time to be a hitting coach with the Chicago Cubs. Gerald Perry has really enjoyed what he's seen from his ball club throughout the course of this homestand. This is the season rankings. First in BA, first in hits, first in on-base percentage, first in doubles. The really impressive one for me is second in the National League in walks and, of course, scoring runs. You got to do that to win games, and the Cubs have done it with regularity.
The Mets saw their 5-game winning streak come to an end last night in Philadelphia. They're stocked with switch hitters and left-handers against Carlos Zambrano, but he has to worry about the lone right-hander 1 through 8.
Yeah, the Maytag repairman is David Wright in the middle of that Mets order, and he's one of the best young players in baseball. His .359 average puts him just behind Derek Lee for 8th in the National League. He has power, he has speed, he's a great defender. Fun to watch this guy play.
Big Z's coming off a win his last time out against Cincinnati. Also tied a career high with 3 hits.
He's going to have a challenge against this Mets offensive lineup, even though they are not hitting on all cylinders right now. A very, very dangerous ball club. Carlos needs to be at his best.
And he's been very good here at home to start 2008. Should be a lot of fun. This series will end tomorrow with an afternoon game, so let's see if the Cubs can keep it rolling. They've won 5 of the first 6 on this homestand. We'll have the first pitch and all the action next.
Light. AM/PM. AM/PM. Too much good stuff. The Illinois Lottery. Play the Illinois Lottery. Have a ball. By Comcast. Proven advanced technology. Call 1-888-4-BEST-TV. By Pepsi. Every sip gets you closer. And by Southwest Airlines. You're now free to be more productive. Visit southwest.com today.
Great night for baseball, starting an hour early on this Monday evening. And tonight's Cubs broadcast from beautiful Wrigley Field is brought to you in beautiful high definition, sponsored by Comcast. Bob, we got a late lineup announcement change as Ryan Theriot has lower back soreness, so he is out of the lineup. He was going to bat second. And Ronnie Cedeno will jump in there. Fontenot will move up from 8 to 2, and Cedeno filling in. Let's hope it's nothing serious, as Ryan Theriot had a huge offensive day yesterday.
Boy, he's been a huge spark plug at the top of the order for the Cubs. Hopefully it's just a day-to-day thing. I saw him take batting practice today. He looked fine. Apparently sometime between batting practice and game time, that lower back started to stiffen up.
Let's hear from Lou Piniella on this surging Cubs offense, scoring 13 runs each of the last 2 days.
We're second in the league in runs scored, behind Arizona. And to me, you score runs, you win. It doesn't hurt that we're leading the league in hitting, and that we're second in the league in runs scored, and that we're improving defensively as we speak. So those things all help. But again, look, there's a long season. Let's not get all crazy about this thing. I mean, let's just stay cautionary, and let's just keep on playing good baseball. That's all.
I think last year was let's not get too giggly. This year the operative word is crazy. The Cubs are in first. They're a half game up in the division. And another injury note. Good news is Kosuke Fukudome, who sat out yesterday's drubbing of the Pirates with a swollen right eyelid, is fine. He's back in there tonight. Now Willie Randolph's New York Mets starting lineup. The Mets come in a half game out in the East. They're 10-7. Switch hitters at the top, Reyes, Castillo. Then you have the right-handed hitting right. Another switch hitter, Beltran, who loves hitting in this ballpark. Lefties, Delgado and Church. Switch hitter, Casanova. Lefty, Chavez. And a right-hitting pitcher, John Maine.
And here's how the Cubs take the field defensively tonight. Behind Big Z, brought to you by Pepsi. Every sip gets you closer. DeRosa, Johnson, Fukudome across the outfield. Ramirez at third. Ronnie Cedeno, a late insertion at shortstop for Ryan Theriot. Mike Fontenot now playing second base. Derek Lee over at first received his Gold Glove award before the ball game today. Giovanni Soto once again behind the plate for Carlos Zambrano, the big right-hander. Off to a good start this season. Coming off a strong performance against the Reds last time out. 7 innings, 8 hits, only 2 runs. The good thing about Big Z, only 3 walks on the season so far in 26 2/3 innings pitched.
The umpires for this quick 2-game set, Angel Hernandez in his 16th year will work the plate. Cooper Foster and the crew chief Cousins are on the bases. Breeze blowing out to left at the moment from the south or southeast, and Jose Reyes will start it for the Mets.
Boy, do we even have to say it? Keep this guy off base. This guy is quite the instigator. If he gets on, he's capable of stealing a base, scoring from first on extra bases. Definitely will split the pitcher's attention between him on base and the batter at the plate, so keep him off base.
1 strike on Reyes. Another switch hitter, Luis Castillo, on deck. Fastball riding at 94, missing 1-1. Carlos, you can tell already, he wants to work quickly. And Ramirez is in at third. Derek Lee in a couple of steps at first base. It's low, 2-1. With all these switch hitters and lefties, you would think the Mets would be a lot better against righties than lefties. That has not played out that way early on. They're 2-6 versus right-handed starters, 8-1 against lefties.
Go figure. That's kind of like the Cubs numbers against left-handed pitching last year.
Shattered bat, and it will drop for a base hit. Reyes makes a huge turn. So his average will climb over 300. He went into that at bat at 299.
Or just splintered that bat lengthwise. You see the barrel rolling out toward Big Z. Ball just floats out into shallow left field. And now the fun begins. Stole 78 bags for the Mets last year, setting a single season franchise record. I'll tell you, if you were drafting an expansion team right now and you had your choice of either infielder on the left side for the Mets, that would be a tough call. Reyes, a prototypical leadoff hitter, good defender at short, can steal a base. David Wright at third base has it all.
Yeah, that is a great question. Inside corner. on Castillo. Both he and Carlos Beltran had operations on both knees in the offseason. And Luis's right knee has been bothering him a bit this year. The pitch. He pops it foul off to the left. Well, you talked about Jose Reyes, who likes to run. He's led the league in stolen bases the last 3 years. Pretty scary incident the other night. He ended up being okay. Banged his head right into Chase Utley's knee. Watch this. Right there.
Man, we talk about finger, wrist, and hand injury, sliding head first, but also your dome is exposed when you go in there. Reyes knocked temporarily unconscious. You could see he was awake. He had the presence of mind to reach for the base before asking for timeout, but scary, scary moment for the Mets.
Two strikes on Castillo, and he taps this one foul. Very good contact hitter, Luis Castillo, although he did fail to lay down a bunt with his team down a run in the ninth last night with nobody out and 2 on. He ended up striking out. The Mets weren't able to complete the sweep at Philadelphia, but they did take 2 of 3, and they've won 5 of their last 6. Cubs, meanwhile, are a half game up in the Central, 12-6 coming in. Very close. Ball 1-1-2.
Tough pitch to lay off of with 2 strikes. Big Z comes inside. That sinker just doesn't come back quite far enough. Good pitch, however, to set up the next one. Push Castillo off the plate a little bit with that fastball in. Probably go right back away. You definitely need to be careful throwing off-speed pitches to Luis Castillo because of the way the Cubs are defending him in the outfield. You can see Reed Johnson way over into left center field. Fukudome playing pretty much straight up in right.
Long pause by Zambrano. And Castillo asked for and was granted time.
You know, I mentioned when Reyes gets on, it diverts the pitcher's attention between the base runner at first and the hitter at the plate. But Carlos is so quick to home plate, you hate to see him pay too much attention to any base runner over there. He gives his catcher a real good opportunity to throw out even the fastest guys in the league.
A bouncer to Derek Lee. Take about 5 steps to get to first base. Castillo is out. Reyes is now at second base. And now Wright, who has reached base in 12 of his last 15 plate appearances. There'll be some Mets and Yankee fans in town this week. The Yankees will start a series on the south side tomorrow night. Boston beat Texas in a game that started this morning 8-3. It's the annual Patriot Day game in Boston. Also, Detroit beat Toronto 5-1. The 0-1 pitch drifts inside. Well, you asked the question, which one would you take?
Ooh, that's a tough call.
Wright
tough
or
call.
Reyes?
I mean, they both bring a lot to the table. It probably depends on whether you want a number 3 hitter or a number 1 hitter, because they're 2 of the best at their respective spots in the batting order and their respective spots on the field.
I'll take whichever one you don't. Then I don't have to make that tough decision.
Well, you would assume as he gets older, David Wright will lose some of that base stealing speed. It's just kind of a natural progression as corner infielders, catchers get a little older. They get a little thicker through the legs and tend not to run as much. But the upside is he figures to hit for even more power as he gets more experience, learns the pitchers in the National League a little better. And for Reyes, barring any kind of leg injuries, that speed never takes a day off. When he gets on base, he disrupts the flow of the ball game.
Reyes 24. Wright is 25.
Well, Reyes is a lot younger. You have to take him.
Then you have Beltran on deck. Called strike. It's now full 3-2. Carlos with his good fastball tonight. That one at 95. The guy on deck, Carlos Beltran, turns 31 coming up in a few days. The elite center fielders in the game. Called strike 3. So he locks up right for the second out.
Boy, in order to get a good hitter to look at a strike 3 like this, it tells you what kind of late movement Carlos has. That hard sinker just off the outside corner, really boring back in. And from our Southwest RoboCam, you see David Wright taking a called third strike.
Switch hitting Carlos Beltran, the cleanup man, has the highest career batting average versus the Cubs among active players at 365, also hitting .425 in this ballpark. He's walking a lot, as you can tell, 237 batting average, but and on base it's over 380. Quick look at Reyes. The kick and the pitch. Beltran waved at that off-speed offering. 1-2.
Mentioned in the opening show that this Mets offense is not really hitting on all cylinders right now. Good stat, 10 home runs on the season as a ball club. We've got a couple guys in the lineup they expected to have 10 home runs individually by now.
Well, they have a long disabled list. The injuries started in spring training. They really haven't let up. Moises Alou, hernia surgery in March. He may be back within the next week. But El Duque, Pedro Martinez, they're on the DL. Not hit very hard. Cedeno charges, lots of time, and Zambrano gets through the inning unscathed even after the flare hit to start it from Reyes. Cubs bats hope to keep it going against John Maine when we return.
By Adam LaRoche, he drops down to 6th. Ronnie Paulino, the birthday boy, 27 today. Chris Gomez, he's at 3rd, and Matt Morris. So it's kind of a new twist to the lineup. And 6'9" left-hander Mark Hendrickson.
Oh, he really.
And a lot of big averages. Johnson, Lee, Fukudome, DeRosa, Soto, Cedeno, all coming in over 300.
Take a look at the Mets defensively. Andy Chavez in left, Carlos Beltran in center, Ryan Church over in right field, David Wright, Jose Reyes on the left side of the infield, Luis Castillo and Carlos Delgado on the right side. Raul Casanova doing the catching. Brian Schneider, their normal starting catcher, has a bruised forearm, got clipped with a foul tip off the bat of Chase Utley a couple days ago. And Casanova will be doing the catching for right-hander John Maine. 3 starts this season and no decision, a win and a loss. His big problem in the early going has been the base on balls. 12 walks in 16 2/3 innings pitched. Some equipment problems for Casanova. Slight delay here. John Maine's now going to play a little catch with the third baseman just to stay loose.
Well, they're banged up behind the plate. The backup catcher Ramon Castro's on the DL. That's why Casanova is on the active roster. And Brian Schneider, who came over in the offseason from Washington, he's day to day. A bruised right forearm.
Oh, did you have to show it?
Yeah,
Man,
we did, unfortunately.
that hurts.
Yeah.
Well, he fortunately had that arm behind his back, but just enough of his forearm sticking out from the side there. And of course, that ball will find unpadded areas.
I guess he's available in an emergency tonight.
I said he lost all his grip strength in his right hand, and obviously you got to have your hands on the bat and be able to make the throws necessary behind the plate. So Schneider getting another day off tonight. Casanova getting the nod.
Raul has been around for a while, kind of a journeyman guy and one of the best names in baseball. I don't know if he's performing at a local club afterwards, but Raul Casanova. While we have a moment, let's have a ball with our friends at the Illinois Lottery. Before the ball game, Derek Lee receiving his 3rd career Gold Glove. Got a nice hand from this big crowd here at Wrigley Field.
Boy, in the start he's had this season, not only with the bat, but defensively down there at first base, he's well on his way to another one.
Congratulations, Derek.
It's tonight's Have a Ball or Have a Glove, thanks to the Illinois Lottery. If the trend continues, he won't win it this year, but he'll win it next year. He's won it every odd year since 2003.
Well, looks like everybody's ready to go now.
Reed Johnson will lead it off. Up and in, ball 1.
Yeah, Maine features a fastball that at times will cut a little bit away from the right-handed hitters, at times will tail a little bit back into the righties. Has a pretty good straight changeup that he'll double up with. He'll throw it 2 pitches in a row if he feels that's the most effective weapon, and a slider that he'll use mostly to the right-hand batters.
And time called. Maine works from the first base side of the pitching rubber. That's the first strike, 2-1. So he has that extra cover on his toe as it digs in there in front of the rubber. Because you get into a comfortable shoe and you want to preserve it for a while. Tennis players know what that's all about if you drag your toe.
And for right-handed pitchers, it's the right shoe. And for left-handed pitchers, it'll be the left shoe that they put that extra coverage around the big toe area and the ball of the foot.
Popped up behind the plate, and Casanova will not have room and drops 5 rows back.
Against the Nationals on Wednesday, a victory. 6 2/3 innings, 5 hits. He did walk 4 batters in that game. He hasn't walked less than 3 hitters in any of his starts. And his only career start here at Wrigley, he got whacked around pretty good. 2 2/3, 6 runs.
0-2 with a .517 in 4 games and 3 starts against the Cubs. How about that start? Not like yesterday.
And Reed Johnson with that short, abbreviated, choppy swing up there at the plate. He can wait a long time, takes a lot of his base hits right back up the middle of the field. Good start for the Cubs.
Fontenot was in the original lineup, but he was hitting 8th. And then we just found out maybe 5 minutes before the first pitch that Ryan Terrier was scratched. Johnson was running. It was a hit and run. Fontenot fouled it away.
Luke playing a little hit and run right out of the chute. Gets the leadoff man on base. The first pitch to the number 2 hitter. He's got the runner in motion, trying to open up some holes for Mike Fontenot in that infield.
Ryan is hitting .338, and Cedeno replaces him, hitting .350. So that's how much the Cubs have kind of spread things around. Everybody chipping in. And when your offense, Bob, is struggling, sometimes fans want you to be more aggressive, try to take some chances and run. But if you're struggling to get guys on base, you don't want to take the risk of having them thrown out. Yet when you're really rolling, you almost have more confidence to push some buttons, don't you?
Yeah, you feel more like living on the edge a little bit, because even if a guy happens to get thrown out at second base, you feel confident that your offense can still get something going. And a lot of reason for confidence in the offense, the way they've been swinging the bats and working their at bats, taking pitches, coming up with big hits.
Throw to first. Johnson's back.
Big offensive numbers on this homestand. The 4-1 record. Team BA of .326, averaging almost 8 runs a game.
Another throw.
Certainly makes Gerald Perry very happy, the hitting instructor, but also it makes Larry and Lou happy as well. It gives your pitchers a little more breathing room. They don't have to be quite as perfect. But when your offense is clicking, it seems to make the game a lot easier.
There goes Johnson again. There was a foul tip on the strike, and Johnson thrown out. Casanova's 2 for 2 and throwing out base stealers.
It looked like a broken hit and run that time. Fontenot just trying to put that ball in play on the ground somewhere. The pitch is way off the plate away, giving Casanova a clear shot to throw down to second base. Boy, I say it all the time. On a hit and run, it's not really up to the runner to get a jump and steal the base. You're relying on that hitter to make contact, and unfortunately Fontenot got a pitch he couldn't do anything with.
And while you never want to have a runner get thrown out, it's not quite as deflated when you're in an offensive stretch like the Cubs are right now. And here's Derek Lee. A nice hand for him once again. 2 hits, 2 RBIs, 2 runs. On Sunday, right now, he's second in the majors in home runs with 7. Chase Utley with 8, leading the way. Either ZZ Top or a fan of that band in attendance. Slicing fly. This is Ryan Church in right. Well, both starters gave up a leadoff single, but no runs. Now you can. Visit Cubs.com and click on the CBOE front row seats auction to bid on tickets in the front row behind home plate and along the first base line. The next auction begins on April 25th for some key dates in May. Don't miss your chance. Go to Cubs.com. Check out the CBOE front row seats auction today. But a rough go of it for Carlos Delgado lately. Average right now at 200. He is slugging .292. 0-12 on their road trip.
Watch a little bit of that game from Philadelphia last night. He did hit a couple of balls right on the button last night and got nothing to show for it.
It's a ground ball to Ramirez, who is shifted over against a left-handed pull hitter. Delgado, going into tonight, his last 7 starts, 6 times has gone hitless.
Over his last 6 games, 1 for 22. I mentioned he hit a couple balls hard last night. Chased Pat Burrell into the left field corner to catch a deep fly ball, and also lined out to right field, but having trouble finding holes.
Ryan Church off to a good start. He was acquired from the Nationals in the offseason. There have been reports over the past that the Cubs had an interest in the left-handed hitting outfielder. He has hit in 7 straight. And he's ahead in the count, 2-0. Ground ball ticketed toward right, and that's a base hit. Past the diving Fontenot.
It's a hard topspin ground ball that accelerated through that right side of the infield. Eric Lee did not even budge from his position at first base. He knew he had no chance at it. Terrio with a dive, but that ball threw into right field for a knock.
Casanova digs in. Of
course, I meant the other Cajun, Fondo.
Outside. Well, even though Ryan is out of the lineup, I want to thank him, and I know the Cubs are very appreciative of Ryan's attendance today, as the Cubs and the McCormick Tribune Foundation handed out more than $1 million in grants to nonprofit organizations serving the Chicago area. What a great annual event. That included more than $600,000 in funding for youth sports programs, including reviving baseball in inner cities, the RBI program, a premier summer baseball league involving approximately 300 mostly minority youths from disadvantaged community areas. So thanks to Ryan for being a part of that. I asked Alan Trammell, I said, did you have Raul Casanova when you managed in Detroit? He said, no, I actually played with him. Casanova made his major league debut in 1996 with the Tigers. He's been around for a while.
Bounced back and forth between the minor leagues and the big leagues, depending on the need and the organization he happened to be with at the time. But he's pretty much a prototypical backup catcher. Good catch and throw guy. He showcased his strong arm earlier in the ball game, and he can stumble into a home run from time to time. That's 6 in only 29 ball games last season with the Rays.
His first year was Trammell's last year, 1996. 3-1 the count, a runner on, 1 out. Zambrano off to a good start here at home. He was better on the road last year than he was at Wrigley Field, but he's 2-0 with a 1.74. This is his 5th home start. Check that, his 4th home start. Start number 5 overall.
Now, the lone road start was against the Phillies on that last trip, and really his only subpar outing of the year up to this point. 9 hits and 5 runs in 6 innings.
Runner goes, foul tip into the mitt. The tag applied, strike him out, throw him out, and the inning is over. A couple of caught stealings in this game, one for each team. Soto nailing his third base stealer of the year as he gets Ryan Church. Inning over.
But still gets out of the chute, makes a strong throw, and the back end of a strike him out, throw him out double play.
I think both caught stealings came after a foul tip, so good concentration by the catchers to make the catch.
Yeah, Gio now at 30% on the season, gunning down attempted base stealers.
Time called. Ramirez wasn't ready. Tied a career high with 4 hits on Sunday. Picked up a home run, knocked in 4. Normally when you have 4 hits, 4 RBIs, hit a home run, you don't get lost in the shuffle, but he kind of did. Hit his 150th home run as a Chicago Cub. For the 18th time in his career, he picked up 4 hits in a ball game. Still hasn't had a 5-hit game. Drinking a lot of water and using some more on top of his head to keep cool. 59 degrees at game time. The wind out of the east at 8.
The wind blowing across from the right field corner toward the left field corner should help balls hit the left field, should knock down balls hit the right field.
The right-hander coming back on a 2-2. It's a little bit outside and a full count. Going into action today, the Cubs .366 on base percentage, not only led the National League but was 1 point off the Major League lead, and it will go up as Ramirez walks. The Boston Red Sox at .367, the only team with a better on base percentage.
Next batter, right fielder number 1, Kosuke Fukudome.
Thank you, Paul Friedman. So Fukudome, we were told yesterday, was going to be a one-day thing. Had this small cyst above his right eye, caused a little inflammation in his eyelid. So his vision wasn't 100%. Took yesterday off, and he's back in there.
Hopefully it won't affect his eye for the strike zone. This guy has shown an amazing ability to lay off borderline pitches to get into those good hitters counts.
Do you think the patience, the ability to work a deep count, that has been contagious? Maybe the idea that one guy goes up there and has a 7, 8, 9 pitch at bat, and the next guy thinks, you know, I can't go up here and make it out on one pitch. It sure has looked that way the last few days.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's causing the patience at the plate, but I sure do like the end results, and I know Lou does as well. Not only the base on balls, putting runners on base, but as I mentioned, you get those good hitters counts. 2-0, 2-1, 3-1.
Reyes goes out. A couple of outfielders coming in, and it is caught by Beltran, the two-time Gold Glover, as he just called off Chavez at the last second.
A lot of speed converging on that pop-up in shallow left center, and Gold Glover takes charge at the very end of the play. Chavez gives way, lets him take it.
Carlos Beltran pulled a Jimmy Rollins before the season. He said the Mets are the team to beat this year. Rollins said the same thing about the Phillies last season and was right. Had to be a very, very long winter for Willie Randolph. His team blew a 7-game lead with 17 to go. First team ever to do that. Finished a game behind the Phillies in the East. 2 strikes on DeRosa. It was an epic September collapse. They went 5-12 over their last 17. The Phillies went 13-4. And probably the biggest part of it, Bob, is that they lost 8 straight to the Phillies to end that season series. So it wasn't that they just lost late. The team that caught them and passed them won 8 in a row. And the Mets then lost the first game this year between the two clubs, but then they rattled off 4 straight before losing last night. I'm sure they would like to think the curse of the Phillies is past, as Delgado makes a catch at foul ground.
I'll tell you, that kind of finish to a season when they were already printing playoff tickets. People were making their plans to go watch the Mets play in the postseason, and to have it disappear the way it did at the end of the season, that's the kind of finish that'll put a manager on probation.
And Carlos Delgado in the last game, and they got blown out by Florida, suffered a broken hand. He got hit by a pitch. So you talk about adding injury to insult. It was a painful ending, literally and figuratively, for him last year. And then you add to that Tom Glavine. That was his last start as a New York Met. He got knocked out in the first inning of the final game of the season. 7 runs in a third of an inning. Foul back our way. Soto's hitting 6 in a row. Reached all 4 times yesterday. Scored twice. Outside. Cedeno playing short. He's on deck.
Another great hitters count for Giovanni Soto. You brought up a good point, Len. I don't know if it's contagious when one guy in the lineup is showing some patience and taking a lot of pitches, but boy, the end result, you have to think, is great positive reinforcement. You know, you get up to the plate, you feel like you're 2-0, 3-1 every at bat.
Soto hustling, the throw, got him. Ooh, I thought he beat it. Soto not arguing the call. We'll get another look at it when we come back. Casanova showing off his arm. 0-0.
Starting catcher, but he's in the major leagues because of his defensive ability to throw out runners, call a game, and calls off John Maine here, makes a nice spin move, throws all in one motion, barely in time to get Giovanni Soto at first base in the estimation of Eric Cooper.
Andy Chavez sends a looping fly ball out into left center. Reed Johnson with a little snow cone at the end.
A lot of white there at the end of that play. Well, we'll take one more look at Soto hustling down the first baseline, and yes, he's safe. Man, these catchers, when they hustle down the line like that and leg out an infield hit, you got to give it to them.
In the many paradoxes of baseball, he was safe, but he was out.
Yep.
It's just the way it is. 1-0. John Maine. I was thinking about it. We had a shot earlier of the back of his jersey. How many major league players have the name of a state on their jersey, at least on the back? Maine. We came up with Rico Washington, who is on the Cardinals roster. I think of too many others as Maine swings and misses.
Randy, New Hampshire. Didn't he play for somebody?
Yeah. Well, he's a Hall of Famer, right? John Maine is from Virginia. We were trying to come up, Tyler Houston. That came up, but then we realized that's not a state. So we need some geography lessons. Darrell Boston. We got to get away from cities. So that's a little too easy. Billy North, if we could just add a Carolina, we'd have it. Called strike on Reyes, who singled to lead off the ballgame. Well, we can look it up. And if you would like to send us an email with some other, if any, we can't think of any, current or former Major League Baseball players with the name of a state on the back of their jersey, Len and Bob at AOL.com. Let's see what you come up with. And if you can't come up with a state, how about something that's close to it? Just for fun. The 2-2 pitch, pounded on the ground, right side. It's Fontenot to lead. And the Mets go down in order. 1, 2, 3. Bottom three coming up, 0-0.
Chicago Cubs baseball from beautiful Wrigley Field is brought to you by Bud Light. Endless refreshment from start to finish. Bud Light keeps it coming.
Well, this is a less than 24-hour series, probably starting at a little after 6 o'clock tonight. A 121st pitch tomorrow, and then the Cubs hit the road for the rest of the week. 3 at Colorado, and then 2 at Colorado, 3 at Washington.
I know we're both very much looking forward to seeing that new ballpark in D.C.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Nationals Park.
Almost as much as we're looking forward to not seeing the old ballpark.
Might be one extra stop on the Metro subway. I guess the biggest issue there is parking. They didn't have a ton of parking spaces, so they have encouraged fans in DC to use mass transit. A 1-2 pitch to Ronnie. 2-2 now.
I saw that the new ballpark sits right on the banks, or very near the banks of a river. I'm not sure which river it is.
Anacostia.
Oh, there you go. Take my fishing pole.
That goes 4-3.
What's the weather been like in Denver? I haven't even checked.
I think we should be okay. Thought maybe highs in the upper 60s, low 70s. But I'll take a quick look here. Good hand for Z. It says highs in the low 70s Wednesday and the high of 68 on Thursday. All 3 of his hits came in his last start, tied a career high. But no complaints about the weather here at home to start the year.
Especially not from the hitters, because we've been blessed with that warm wind blowing out of the south, and occasionally out of the east. Those cold lake breezes that blow straight in and knock down fly balls have been nowhere to be found recently.
Strikeout number 2 for Maine. Good look at those pennants, and the Cubs flag is atop the National League Central. They have been in every spot already in the division. All 6. Isn't that something? This is the 19th game of the year. First time they've been in first place. They've been in second 7 days, 6 days in third, 3 days in fourth, 1 day in fifth, 2 days in sixth. I like it here better.
All that matters is that you're at the top of that flagpole at the end of the season.
Johnson gets hit for the second straight day.
Fastball running up and in. You'll see he spins his body out of the way, but he never really moved his left arm or his left leg. They pretty much stayed right where they were as he turned away from that ball. Made sure he got hit by that pitch and then heads on down to first. There's a real art to that. Some guys are very good at giving the appearance that they're trying to get out of the way of the pitch, but yet leave one body part out there to take the brunt of it.
And his front foot was actually outside of the batter's box. Now, he had most of his foot in, but watch that front foot and where his toes are. I mean, just barely toward home plate, out of the batter's box. That's how close he is to home plate. So he's going to get hit his fair share. But I think that's fine, right? He's got most of it. I mean, it's on the chalk.
The chalk line is considered to be part of the batter's box, and the rule book says any part of your foot in contact with any part of the line, you're considered to be in the batter's box. So he could even step forward all but his last heel cleat on that front line and still be considered to be in the batter's box.
The out will be made at first base. And the inning is over. The Cubs leave 1. The starting pitchers have been the story early on a beautiful night on the north side. Hour, you're watching WCIU DT 26 Chicago. No score as we move to the 4th inning. This all-time series pretty close. Cubs are a game under 500 against the Mets. 333 up, 334 down. I just noticed Castillo, as that ball went past, as he was squaring to bunt, he had his right foot almost all the way out of the batter's box toward first base.
Castillo with a similar approach that Jose Reyes took in his last plate appearance, showing bunt early in the at-bat. Now has himself a 3-0 count.
I might take another one here. He's a 2-time National League stolen base champ. Not going to win any titles anymore at this point in his career. Well, he is 3 for 3, and we'll head down to first. Time for our AT&T text poll question. Well, here you go. Which New York team do you hate the most? You can text to 97999. A for the Mets, B for the Yankees, C for the Giants, D for the Knicks. Again, text your response to 97999. Other charges may apply. We'll give you the results a little later. The poll is brought to you by the new AT&T. See what's new at the new AT&T. Visit att.com for details. I think we have to ask Cubs radio analyst Ron Santo for his answer.
I think he's over there texting as we speak.
So we cover 3 major sports: baseball, football, and basketball. Safe at first. What do you think, Ron? Is he texting A? Oh, almost had Castillo out. Zambrano threw it right back and almost nailed Castillo. Ground ball to third. Ramirez, Fontenot, lead double play. So the red-hot David Wright has been cooled off. A strikeout and a double play.
A double play on a ball that got in on him badly right there. Kind of lost his balance coming out of the batter's box. Made it even easier for the Cubs to turn that 5-4-3 double play. Nicely done. I watched that ball game in Philadelphia last night. Luis Castillo has had a habit in his career. When he takes his lead off first base, he takes 2 big steps and gets out into a position where he feels comfortable and then edges off the base as the pitcher goes into his set position. And I think Carlos was trying to catch him as he took those 2 big steps off the bag right away. Almost had him.
Comes a 1-1. A little bit inside, 2-1.
Looks like Carlos is trying to stay in on the hands of Carlos Beltran. The book on him is don't let him get that extension.
Aramis calls for it. In fair territory, makes a catch. Beltran's 0 for 2. Still scoreless. WGN Baseball blog on WGNTV.com. Click on the sports link. Look for Len and Bob's Baseball blog. I have a post about today's Cubs charity event. We'll tell you when you can catch Cubs Forever again if you missed it. What a great show last night. Bob also weighs in on the Cubs' powers so far this season. WGNTV.com. Click on sports. Look for the link to Len and Bob's blog and our current podcast as well. What a terrific 2 hours last night.
Well, you know it's a good show when it ends and you don't even realize it's been 2 hours. So entertaining.
Derek Lee's been pretty entertaining this year. He was a big part of the special. Leadoff single here in the fourth. And coming up on May 3rd, 7 o'clock Central Time, Cubs Forever, brought to you by National City. You can also buy the book Cubs Forever at TriumphBooks.com. I love the Rick Sutcliffe, Mark Grace story over the closing credits. That's a classic.
Never gets old. I've heard that story.
Aramis Ramirez got all of it. Gone. 2-0. Get him on, get him in. That's number 5 for Aramis.
The advanced scouts around the National League and opposing managers have been watching these box scores, and it's been scary enough to watch the way the Cubs have hit the ball in this homestand, but now Aramis Ramirez is starting to heat up as well.
He is up into the mid 280s with a batting average. He started yesterday at 234. We mentioned the on base and the slugging. He was okay. He was hitting in the 220s, but he was taking his walks. He was hitting for okay power. Now he seems to be getting back into that groove that we're used to seeing. Now he's slugging .571 after that home run.
We talked about it in the open of the show, and the most important thing is scoring runs, getting on that plate and driving in teammates. And Aramis Ramirez was tied for the team lead in runs scored, even though he hasn't been swinging the bat that well until recently. One more look at that rocket shot to left center. Our Southwest, how far did it fly? 380 feet into the middle of the left field bleachers.
But we've pounded this point over and over again, but it bears repeating that scoring runs is a function of him getting on base. He came in with 11 walks. He now has 12. He has struck out 12 times. For a power hitter like Ramirez to keep the walks and strikeouts about the same, that you don't see it that often. And when you do, it's the guys usually making 20 to 25 million a year. Hit hard, but right at Reyes, scoops it up. And he has arguably the strongest arm of any infielder in the game today. You have Rafael Furcal. I mean, there's some guys with some cannons, but he looks effortless. He throws the ball a good 90-95, it looks like, over to first.
And it's a functional throwing arm. He can put a lot on it from any angle out there. Going to his left up the middle of the field. I've seen him throw back across his body. Seen him go into the hole between third and short and make good throws across the diamond. He's got all the tools.
I asked Mark about that spill down the right field line yesterday. Said no, he's fine, no problems. Very scary trip over the right field bullpen mound, and he almost went face first into the bricks. That area right there, and there's no padding where he went in.
He's a football player. That's no big deal.
Reyes won't get to this ball. By him in a fraction of a second. 8-game hitting streak now for Mark.
That play we talked about with Mark DeRosa yesterday. First of all, had a long run to get to this ball. And then just about the time he gets into a position to field it, watch his right foot catches that mound, his left foot. He tumbles toward the bricks. Fortunately able to break his fall, turn his body, and take the brunt of it on his left shoulder.
Man on with one out. Cubs leading 2-0. There's nothing gradual about it now. And I know they were going to maybe make it a little more gradual behind the rubber. A little bit of a change from years past when the slope actually went into fair territory. But you know what? There's a hill in center field in Houston. It's one of the things that you love about this game. Every ballpark's different.
And really, there's not much in the way of alternatives. I mean, the bullpens are what they are. They are where they are, and they're not going to be moved. I mean, I guess you could literally put a fence around it, but then that becomes even more dangerous. Now you have no foul territory down either foul line, and another fence for those corner outfielders and infielders to deal with.
Did you ever sit in the bullpen at Tiger Stadium?
The pillbox?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was weird. They didn't have benches. It was like a submarine down each line.
And you just had a little peephole to look through, a little sliver of light coming through where you could actually see the players from the waist up.
And now coming out of solitary confinement, Willie Hernandez.
Not to mention the stalactites hanging down from the ceiling. Boy, you could store kegs of beer in that bullpen.
That's strike 3. Soto's out.
John Maine will get his share of strikeouts. He led this Mets pitching staff in strikeouts last season. He really has to be fine with his command. He doesn't have the kind of fastball that he can just rear back and throw it past people, but if he sets it up well, it becomes a very workable fastball.
6th in the league in strikeouts last year with 180. The Mets pitching coach is Rick Peterson. Maine was tied for 8th with 15 wins in 07. With 2-0 on the way, Ronnie gets under one. It's Endy Chavez out in left for the 3rd out. Lee with a leadoff single, and then Aramis Ramirez, whose bat is heating up like everybody else's on this roster, takes it out 2-0. 12 for Aramis Ramirez against the New York Mets. And the Cubs out in front 2-0. Delgado, Church, and Casanova for the Mets in the 5th. The Cubs are trying to start the year 13-6. It would be their best 19-game start since 1985. The last time the Cubs started the year 13-6 or better. The 0-2 to Delgado, way high and outside. He doesn't have a Babe Ruth jersey, but has Babe Ruth on his shirt or his sweatshirt.
He's not fooling anybody. That's not Babe Ruth. Maybe his girlfriend doesn't know, huh? Well, it could be that his girlfriend's name is Ruth and he's letting the world know what a babe she is.
Right. Having fun with names. Former Cub Angel Pagan, which is a fun name. P-A-G-A-N. You could say Pagan, on the same team as Ryan Church. Three and 2 on Delgado. Church will hit next. The pitch smacked into center. Fontenot, actually it was Cedeno, the shortstop, shaded up the middle.
You mentioned Angel Pagan, former Cub, got off to a great start with the Mets this year, hitting .311 coming into play tonight. Driven in 11 runs already. Boy, Delgado got a pitch out over the plate, fortunately high enough to get over the head of Carlos Zambrano. That's the kind that'll leave a mark if you try to make a play on that ball. That was smoked.
Ball 1 on Church. Extended his hit streak to 8 with a second inning single, but then he was caught stealing. Strike him out, throw him out, double play. Derek playing behind Delgado. Slowly hit to Fontenot. They will get one. Relay throw will be made, and it's just a little bit late.
Boy, good decision that time by Ronnie Cedeno. Ryan Church at the plate runs pretty well for a big man. Carlos Delgado, the runner at first, does not run well at all. And even though this is a slowly hit ball to the right side, Cedeno knows he's got plenty of time to attempt to turn that double play. Rather, Fontenot made the quick play to second base. Know your runners, know their abilities, and that internal stopwatch that you should have running in your head will let you know whether you have a chance to get that lead runner or not.
Check swing by Casanova, and he held up. Darryl Cousins made the call from third base. I mentioned Cousins a crew chief. I think this year he was named a crew chief. Double check on that. A bouncer again to Fontenot. They get the out at first. Church caught up. Cedeno now will apply the tag. Double play. Another nice play by Mike. And that gets Carlos out of the inning. That's the third double play turned by the Cubs 2-0. upcoming WGN-produced baseball schedule in high definition, sponsored by Comcast. Full day of baseball Thursday in HD on WGN Sports. The Cubs are in Colorado at 2, and the Sox host the Yankees beginning at 6:30 with White Sox warm-up on WGN Sports. The Sox will host Baltimore Saturday at 6 o'clock Central Time. Again, all on WGN Sports in beautiful HD. Carlos Zambrano. Strike one. The double play to end the top of the fifth went 4-3-6. He struck out swinging his first time, widening his stance down in the count 2-2. Man, 6'4", 200 pounds, 26 years old. Another right-hander tomorrow for the Mets. Nelson Figueroa. It'll be his first appearance at Wrigley Field since September 27th, 2003. Full count now. Ted Lilly still looking for his first win. He'll pitch for the Cubs. Good hack.
Well, even the pitchers are getting good hitters counts and taking aggressive swings. Zambrano with a big hack that time on the full count pitch.
And he struck him out. Don't do it. Gotten a lot of emails about the play yesterday. Reed Johnson got turned around a little bit, but a very heads-up play and a ball that ended up there. You see in the vines, even though you can see the baseball, he never did reach in. He put his arms up. The batter and the runner both came around to score. They had to go back to second and third. The ground rules here at Wrigley Field state that if the baseball sticks in the vines on the bleacher wall, it's a double. If it comes out, the ball is in play, so that was the right call.
And the ground rules don't say anything about the ability to see the ball in the vines, just whether it sticks or whether it comes out, and Reed Johnson made the right call on that one.
He's been on both times. Called strike 0-2. Reed Johnson, one of 5 Cubs to be nominated for the Player of the Week in the National League. Derek Lee, Mark DeRosa, Johnson, Giovanni Soto, and Ryan Theriot were all nominated. Connor Jackson, the first baseman of the Diamondbacks, won it. Now the ground rules for the two teams, I guess, would be at home plate when the lineups are exchanged, correct? And it's either the managers or usually a coach.
Yeah, I mean, the first time into a new ballpark, you always go over all the ground rules so that visiting team coming to Wrigley for the first time in a year, you just make sure there's nothing new, nothing has been changed. Usually there's a coach on the staff, or sometimes even the manager himself, that'll review the ground rules of a new ballpark that you're going to and alert the appropriate player. Sometimes it's a tarp that may be in play behind first base. Other times it's the camera well on the third base side, or here at Wrigley, the vines in the outfield. And when you come into a new ballpark, you need to know the nuances of that field. And usually it's a coach that'll go over the ground rules, make sure he knows them to a T, and he'll relay that to the appropriate players.
When I asked Reed about it today. He said he wanted to get a clarification on it. Thought he did the right thing, but he was curious about being able to see the ball, if that made a difference. But you can clearly see it's behind a vine.
And you might say to yourself, well, you can see the ball right there, just grab it. But, you know, as soon as you touch those vines, that ball starts to trickle down out of there, and maybe it gets lodged worse behind the vines. Maybe it rolls out onto the warning track and you can pick it up easily. But in that particular situation, Reed Johnson took advantage of the ground rules here at Wrigley Field, did exactly what he was supposed to do.
And if the ivy were in bloom, you probably would have lost the ball. Carlos feeling good tonight. Boy, a lot of starting pitchers, they don't want to talk, look at, hear from anybody during the ball game. But Carlos, with all that energy, trying to stay hydrated. Another follow-up from yesterday. Ryan Dempster did work around Jason Bay, as we thought. He was able to get Adam LaRoche to finally get out of that 5th inning. Fontenot walks to keep the inning alive. He did get the win. And Ryan is now 3-0 on the season. He was upset at himself, too, not at anybody else. He wanted to give the bullpen a little rest. Well, Rick Peterson will head out to chat with John Maine, who will have to face Derek Lee in this inning. Hey, don't forget to check out our new WGN Cubs baseball podcast. Bob and I, along with our podfather, Bob Vorwald, recorded a new webisode. Guess that's a new word. Yesterday.
It is now.
And it is available for viewing and downloading on WGNTV.com right now. You want to check this one out. This is a fun one. Go to WGNTV.com. Look for the link to Len and Bob's podcast in the sports section. Wave. Hi.
Cheese.
She is taking a picture of everybody watching.
She's getting a picture of the back of our heads on our logo down there.
Derek with a single and a run in the 4th. The pitch. Breaking ball missed. 1 ball, no strikes.
Maine usually likes his changeup in this situation. Big hitter at the plate. He fell behind in the count quickly, 1-0. Tries to take advantage of the hitter's aggressiveness. That's where he likes to throw that straight changeup. Was able to pump one in there for a strike.
Kick and the 1-1. A fastball that time. Away, 2-1. Lee with 7 home runs. Last year he hit number 7 on the 15th of July. Cubs lead because of Aramis Ramirez's 2-run homer in the last inning. Two bounce to third. David Wright will pick it up. The throw to second. Close play. They just got Mike Fontenot. A 2-out walk to Mike. No runs. After 5, 2-zip Cubs.
Accord game summary. It's all been about Aramis Ramirez hitting his 5th home run to give the Cubs a 2-0 lead in this ball game, and Carlos Zambrano working into the 6th inning here with only 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, has held the Mets scoreless to this point. Visit your Honda dealer and test drive the all-new 268 horsepower Accord V6.
Quickly 2 strikes on Endy Chavez playing left. Enjoying the ball game from across the street. Waveland way in tight. That's low, 2-2. Another big crowd tonight. The Cubs are averaging over 2,000 more fans per game at Wrigley Field this year than last year. And the Cubs drew a record 3,252,462. That'll drop foul by about a foot or two. The Cubs are averaging just under 39,800 in 12 home dates compared to 37,601 in 13 April home dates last year. The attendance last season, the highest single season total for any franchise in the history of Chicago professional sports. A deep drive left center. Reed Johnson running hard. It's going to be off the wall. The throw is going to go to second, where Chavez is already standing. That's his first extra base hit of the year. A leadoff double, and it's the 4th time the Mets have put the leadoff hitter on base through 6.
Looked like there was a little bit of indecision for Reed Johnson out there in center field, whether to continue to go after that ball or back off and play it on a bounce off the wall. I think he made the right play. He had a long way to run to go after this ball. The wind was pushing it further away from him and deeper, and decides he can't get there in time to make the play, so he slams on the brakes to play the carom. Chavez with too much speed in with a double.
Bunted by Maine. The throw goes to third, and it did not work out for Soto. Everybody's safe. Chavez in at third. The problem there, it's a tag play, not a force play. And they couldn't get him.
Yeah, from our Southwest RoboCam, Soto gets to the ball quickly. No tag attempted even at third base. Chavez was already into his slide by the time Ramirez got the baseball. Well, I just mentioned it in that last inning about the Cubs making good decisions based on who the base runners were. That time a poor decision on the part of Giovanni Soto. Chavez runs extremely well, had a good jump off of second base.
Talk directing about traffic there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bob.
Talk about it all the time. You know, if the opposing team is giving you an out, you better be really sure you can get that lead runner. Otherwise, you find yourself in a jam like Carlos is in right now.
You can use a strikeout, a sacrifice in a fielder's choice from Maine on that play. A big 0-2 pitch, a ground ball to short. It'll go 6-3, a double play, no RBI for Reyes. The Mets, however, do get on the board. It's 2-1. Boy, not easy to double up Jose Reyes, but he hit it hard, and Ronnie took it himself, and the Cubs turn another double play.
The ball was hit pretty hard to Ronnie's left, kind of leading him to the base. He kind of drug his right foot over the bag. Actually, you'd like to see the shortstop step forward, touch the base with his left foot and throw. That gives you an extra 1/10 of a second or so to get that ball across the diamond and get the speedy Reyes. He got him anyway.
Carlos slamming that glove. And he closed it over the baseball. He's going 1,000,000 miles a second right now. There's a fine line. You like the quick pace. You don't want him to get too far ahead of himself and come undone mechanically 2-2.
You know, you really don't mind all the antics between pitches as long as when he gets his sign from his catcher and goes into his windup, he's under control at that point. Carlos has always been very demonstrative out there on the mound, wears his emotions on his sleeve, but when you're executing your pitches, you have to be as consistent as possible. Your pitchers talk all the time, and pitching coaches about repeating their delivery. Some guys are very good at it. Other guys really struggle with getting their body in the same position, getting their arm in the same position.
Pass Zambrano going to be a tough play on the bare hand by Ramirez, and Castillo beat it barely for an infield hit. He used to be one of the fastest guys in the game. He can still run, and he always gets a head start. He likes to hit the ball on the ground, and from that left-handed batter's box, he has a good head start, and he was able to get there in time to beat the throw.
Yeah, kind of leaning out of the box as he makes contact, the big high leg kick. Once that ball gets past Zambrano, there's very little chance to get him, even though Aramis Ramirez makes a great barehanded scoop and throw to make it a close play over there at first.
I don't care if David Wright, we play all night, and he's 0 for 12. He's always one of, if not the most dangerous hitter in this lineup. He has struck out and bounced into a double play. Good location. Broke his bat, and that gives us an opportunity to take another look at our AT&T text poll question. It's your last opportunity to vote for the New York team you love to hate the most to 97999. The Mets, the Yankees, the football Giants, or the Knicks. Just in case you didn't know that the baseball Giants moved to San Francisco back in the late 50s. The Giants won a big game back in early February, didn't they?
I heard that rumor.
A little bit of an upset.
Crowd getting into it here.
Castillo runs. Here's a throw to second. Ball got away, but I don't think they would have had him anyway. And Castillo's now 4 out of 4. I don't know how his right knee is feeling, but he has run well tonight.
He didn't show any signs of favoring that right leg at all on that stolen base attempt. That's one of the toughest pitches for a catcher to handle. That ball that's inside to a right-hander. You got to reach in there to catch a pitch and then drag the ball all the way back across your body to get that front shoulder closed before you make your throw to second base. And with a speedy base runner, all that time that's elapsing, he's covering ground getting to second base.
3-2 pitch. Slider just missed. The same pitch, the slider on the 2-2 and the 3-2, and both times he tried to go through the front door, could not catch the edge. Beltran 0 for 2. Grounded out and popped out. Left center, it's DeRosa to make the catch on the move to win the inning. They got one, but that was it. Ramirez will lead off the last of the 6th, with the Cubs leading now 2-1. on today's AT&T text poll question. The Yankees, hands down, the most hated team in New York, according to our text responses. What do you think, Ron?
We know what he thinks about that question.
See what's new at the new AT&T. Visit att.com for details. The Yankees in town to play the White Sox, and Hank Steinbrenner making headlines, telling the New York Times that he thinks Jabba Chamberlain should be starting. Backhanded play by David Wright as he throws out Ramirez. Our Nissan drive of the game, the second plate appearance for Aramis Ramirez tonight in the fourth inning, putting the Cubs on the board first. 2-run homer.
Fifth of the season for Rami. For a D. Lee single, put the Cubs on the board with 2. The Mets have cut that lead in half, but all good right now.
If you just joined us, Ryan Terrio was a late scratch with lower back soreness. So Ronnie Cedeno's playing short. Also, Cubs minor league hitting coordinator Dave Keller has joined the ball club to help work with Felix P.A. Felix may be in the lineup tomorrow. They're just trying to smooth out his approach at the plate. Really stressing plate discipline. They're also trying to get him to shift his weight a little bit from the backside to the front side.
Yeah, Lou's been talking about that a lot around the batting cage lately. It seems to be kind of a trend among players in the last couple of years to try to eliminate any stride whatsoever. Just a little bit of a weight transfer onto the back leg and then back onto the front foot. And Lou's a believer that you need to have some movement forward into the pitch. Now there's a point where you have to stop your forward momentum and use more of a rotation as you complete your swing. But Lou just feels a lot of guys are too stationary as they wait on that pitch to come to the plate.
Well, the guy at the plate, as he hits a screamer beyond the Cubs dugout, is a perfect example of somebody who does shift his weight. And there are times if he misses the ball, he actually spins completely around.
There's a very fine line. You don't want to get too far out on that front foot where you're attacking the ball way out in front of home plate. You're making that pitcher's job a lot easier. You're attacking the ball probably 57 or 58 feet from the mound, but if you let that ball travel all the way into the hitting zone and then be quick with your swing, you'll see Fukudome gets his momentum going forward, but when the front foot comes down, that pretty much stops. Now after his swing, you see some exaggerated spinning out of the batter's box, but with the big leg kick, the front foot comes down and stops his momentum forward, and then he rotates and drives his hands and the bat into the hitting zone. It just illustrates once again that there is no one right way to hit in the big leagues.
That's a pretty good way to hit right there. What an at bat. He's on.
When you see a left-handed hitter like Kosuke Fukudome serve a ball like this into left field, you almost get the feeling he could do this on any pitch he wanted to. He makes it look so easy. That front foot will come down. Everything becomes a rotation after that. Just flicks that ball into shallow left field and heads on down to first base.
And again, his head stays so still through the swing and on his way to first. He's aboard with 1 out. Duaner Sanchez is up for the Mets. Pop foul off to the right side and out of play. Boy, the Pirates ERA taking a beating. They're down 10-2 at home against Florida after they were demolished by the Cubs over the weekend here at Wrigley Field. Maine at 100. on the pitch count. Ramirez, Willingham, and Ugla all with home runs for the Marlins. Matt Morris got knocked around tonight. Gave up 8 earned runs in 4 innings. Atlanta's shutting out Washington at Turner Field 6-0 in the bottom of the 6th. Brian McCann with his 5th home run. The Marlins are in first in the East, a half a game ahead of these Mets. Atlanta's 9-9, 2 games out, and winners of 4 straight. And probably, at least right now, on their way to another win. Just up the Lake Michigan coast, St. Louis 2, Milwaukee nothing in the last of the 3rd. The Cardinals are a half game behind the Cubs, 12-7. Milwaukee a game out at 11-7. Adam Wainwright pitching for the Cardinals. And hitting in that 8th spot, and the same for the Brewers. Carlos Villanueva hitting 8th. How about that? Yeah. Is Torres and Kendall batting 9th for their respective teams. Angel Hernandez said that DeRosa went around, and Mark is just saying, look, at least ask Eric Cooper at first base, and I'd have to agree. It was borderline at best, but the home plate umpire made the call.
Well, we fortunately will get another look at this one. DeRosa starts his swing, and then as that ball runs up and in, he tries to back away from the pitch.
It's not a swing.
Not a swing at all. And once again, this is one of my pet peeves with umpires. If you're tracking the ball all the way into the catcher's glove, how can you see where that bat is in relation to home plate? Now, I know on certain pitches, when the bat enters their line of vision, it's very clear to them whether the guy swung or not. But it was obvious on that pitch he didn't get a good look at it. And he calls it immediately. DeRosa definitely had an argument right there, but fortunately did not pursue it. Keep him in the ball game.
I guess the answer here is, what's the hurry? Right?
I mean, we use all the eyeballs of all the umpires on every other play. They get together to make sure they get the call right. Why not take advantage of that first base umpire looking right down the line? He has the best angle to tell where the bat was in relation to the front of home plate.
Popped up by Soto, and no play for Casanova.
DeRosa must be having a good vent over there. You can see everybody on the bench laughing. He's probably letting off a little steam over there. I was describing to everybody exactly what happened, like they didn't see it.
Gets past everybody. And Fukudome moves up a base. Big turn at second. Now let me ask you this. In the dugout, a guy like DeRosa's venting. Let's say you're a teammate and you think that he's wrong. Not in this case, but just a generic sort of situation. Do you just enable the guy and go, you're right, D-Row? Would there ever be a case where you'd say, well, actually, I thought you were out?
Well, it depends on the individual. Obviously, sometimes you can really get under a guy's skin. You know,
it's like Ramirez might be doing that.
Yeah, just disagree with whatever he says.
You were out. Come on.
Jeez, if you'd have hit it, it'd have gone out of the ballpark. Yeah, they're giving him a hard time over there, but they let him, you know, speak his piece, get it out, move forward. We still love you.
So, you know, everything's fine now. 2-2. Runner at second. Called strike 3, and that ends the inning. No argument from Gio. Cubs strand 1. They lead 2-1 as we go to the 7th. Center field, offering a spectacular view and catered service for groups of 75 to 100. The batter's eye is a great option for entertaining in Chicago's unpredictable spring weather. The batter's eye is also available for non-game day functions. To book your date or for more info, visit Cubs.com/suites or call 773-404-Cubs.
It's like a full house in the batter's eye tonight. You can see the silhouettes of the people there behind the shaded hitter's backdrop.
Top of the hour, you're watching WCIU DT26 Chicago. Underway in the 7th. Ron Santo will sing the stretch tonight. Two 2-0 on Delgado. Got his first hit of the Mets road trip. Snapped an 0 for 13 on the trip with a single his last time up. So Brady Clark on the right, Oliver Perez on the left. Zambrano's 2-1, fouled back to the netting, 2-2.
Carlos got ahead of Delgado last time. He tried to go up the ladder with a fastball. You may remember he airmailed it all the way to the backstop on the 0-2 pitch, but came right back with another high fastball before Delgado singled into center field, trying to get him to chase up the ladder.
He hits a ground ball to first baseman Derek Lee, 3-1 on the putout. Scott Air and Chad Fox coming back from arm injuries. Air with the elbow, Fox with the triceps. They'll head to Daytona this week to begin rehab assignments. Lou was asked today about Alfonso Soriano. He said the consensus right now is that he'll be back after the 15 days are up. which I guess would be the last game of the Milwaukee series coming up. One ball, one strike on Ryan Church. Here's the next one. Big swing and a miss. Took a pass at the sinker and couldn't get it.
Well, Ryan Church, another guy that's been known to chase the high fastball up above the belt, especially if it's inside.
Well, the early season trend has played out so far for the Mets. They continue to struggle against righties. And they've been a lot better against left-handed starters. Carlos Marmol cranking it up in the bullpen. Topped off the plate. Zambrano got over quickly. Nice job. Back-to-back 3-1 plays. 2 outs.
I'll tell you, Derek and Carlos make that look like an easy play, and I can tell you from experience that's not an easy play. This is a kind that's very easy to panic on. That little in-between hopper hits slowly, but Carlos goes immediately to the bag knowing Derek Lee's going to make the play and give him a good toss, and they turn it into a routine out.
Well, while they call it the Gold Glove, Derek throws as well as any first baseman in the game today, and we're talking accuracy.
Well, just what we've seen over the number of years here in Chicago. Every feed to the pitcher is chest high right over the base. They never have to make an adjustment, try to find the base and the base ball at the same time. They know that ball is always going to be right there where they can handle it.
A strike away from the stretch. Cubs legend Ron Santos ready. Struck him out. Mets go 1-2-3.
The ball game is legendary Cubs third baseman Ron Santos.
All right, all you wonderful Cub fans, let's do this for the Cubbies. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, for it's root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's around at the old ball game. Hey, let's get some more runs.
Genesis with Phil Collins at the mic. It's tonight, tonight, tonight.
That one poor guy on fan cam was suffering from the world's worst wedgie there. I think they pulled his underwear right up through the collar of his sweatshirt.
20 years ago, that was the song they played when the Cubs played Under the Lights for the first time. Duaner Sanchez is now working for the Mets in for Maine.
Sanchez has surrendered only 2 base hits and no runs over his last 3 appearances.
Backhanded and bobbled by Wright. The throw to first. Safe. Won the Gold Glove last year. That ball was sharply hit, but right to his backhand.
Ronnie himself leaning out of that batter's box as he made contact. I believe that's got to be an error on David Wright. He gets in position to make the backhanded play. A tough play nonetheless, but hits him on the heel of the glove, pops up in the air, and Cedeno hustling all the way down that line beats it out.
It is an error on Wright, his 4th of the year. And Z will be taken out for a pinch hitter. Darrell Ward got a nice hand from the crowd as he went back into the dugout. Good duel tonight between Maine and Zambrano. Carlos was a little bit better. Maine went 6, gave up 2. Zambrano went 7 and allowed 1. Now it's up to both bullpens.
The first time this year Carlos has walked more than 1 batter in a ball game. He walked 2 in the game, as did Maine. None of the walks came around to score.
101 pitches, 61 for strikes for Carlos. Fouled back by Darrell Ward. A lot of double play balls helping out Zambrano. Cubs turned 4 double plays. One was a strike him out, throw him out. Diving stop on the backhand, and Wright, after making an error, with an excellent defensive play to get Ward.
A slight shift put on for Darrell Ward up there. David Wright had a lot of room to cover on that left side of the infield, and he's able to make a couple of steps in a dive. Once again, realizing who the runner is at the plate, he had plenty of time to get to his feet and throw out Darrell Ward at first base. But that serves the purpose of moving the runner up into scoring position for the top of the Cubs order.
Key insurance run at second base, and Ronnie Cedeno, good wheels out there, and it's Reed Johnson at the plate. And a long haul back for Duaner Sanchez. On April 15th, made his first major league appearance since July 28th, 2006. The fashion police may make a phone call to Duaner Sanchez. Are you kidding me?
I don't get it.
Wow. Maybe he's 3 inches shorter than he was yesterday.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Suffered a separated right shoulder in a taxi accident in Miami. in 2006. And last April underwent surgery to repair a shoulder fracture, missed all of last year. He has the sign from his catcher Casanova, and the 1-1 pitch, a swing and a miss. Fontenot on deck. One previous at bat for Reed against Sanchez. He's 0 for 1.
Well, Sanchez has 3 good pitches, a fastball, a changeup, and a hard breaking slider. He can get erratic out there on the mound from time to time. Tends to overthrow the ball, lose the break on his slider, get some pitches up in the zone.
You managed him in 2002. Made 6 appearances for Arizona. No record and a 4.91 earned run average.
Yeah, he was just a baby back then. He was real rough around the edges, but had a great arm. You could tell he was going to be a good major league pitcher if he stayed healthy.
Signed as a 16-year-old back in 1996 with the Diamondbacks before they even began play a couple years later. Another backhanded play by David Wright. How about this? 3 balls to his backhand side at third. He's made 2 of them.
I say we try somebody else.
Now, by and large, he's going to make those plays. The bobble in the air notwithstanding. You talked to Kerry Wood on the leadoff man yesterday and talked about wondering if he was going to pitch or not. We saw him go back from the bullpen to the dugout yesterday in a blowout. Well, this is a kind of night where you know what he's thinking. He's probably thinking about the Mets lineup. Where's it going to come around? Marmol getting ready for the 8th. You have Chavez, pinch hitter, and then Jose Reyes. So Kerry Wood might be thinking about what's my approach against Castillo and Wright and Beltran. Things can change quickly, but a lot's racing through his mind.
Oh, yeah, and you constantly change from inning to inning depending on where the other team ends up. Who are the hitters due up in the next inning? As you said, you see Carlos Marmol coming into the ball game. He's been so good. You figure, well, 1, 2, 3, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 to get out of the inning. So that would put Kerry right in the middle of this Mets order in the 9th inning.
Larry made the call down there, and I'm not sure who's going to get up. As Castillo, 3-time Gold Glover, makes this routine play. An error to start the inning, no runs. Tight one from the ballpark, 2-1 Cubs after 7. Find, I don't have the specific sentence, but a hold is basically you come in with the lead, you leave with the lead.
Yep.
A fly ball to right. Fukudome took a quick look back, but he'll have room. He's right in the middle of the warning track. And now Marlon Anderson, one of the better pinch hitters in the National League, will bat. Aaron Heilman, who went to Notre Dame, is up in the Mets bullpen.
23 pinch hit at bats on the season for the Mets, only 2 base hits. Marlon Anderson has 14 of those 23 at bats off the bench and 1 of the hits.
'65 pinch hits since 2004. Tied for second in the major leagues with Orlando Palmeiro. Only Mark Sweeney with more. Sweeney was 67. Two strikes. Chernachos always good.
Says so.
Always.
Right there. Always good.
Well, we posed a challenge to our viewers with John Maine pitching. There have been some major league players with the last name Washington, but as far as other states, we haven't been able to really find any. There's Joe Montana, but he played football. Called strike 3. 2 outs in the inning, and it's Jose Reyes.
Well, not much Anderson could do about this pitch. This is that snap-dragon slider. Starts over the heart of the plate, ends up on the inside corner just below the belt. That's a broken bat waiting to happen right there. That ball comes right in on the hands of the hitter. Whoops.
Just slipped. Is he going to juggle? Or are they playing catch? Popped him up. Cedeno is calling off Johnson, but Reed will take it. Backhand flip there as well, behind the back flip, I should say, to Cedeno. Nice job, Carlos Marmol. Still 2-1. allegiance to the Cubs by becoming a member of the Cubs Club, the official online fan club for the Chicago Cubs. Cubs Club members will receive benefits unavailable to other fans, including your very own 2008 membership card, MLB.com's game day audio for the 2008 regular season, and much more. Visit Cubs.com to join today. Cubs.com, where baseball is always on. Right-hander Aaron Heilman now works for the Mets. Broken back ground ball to the shortstop, dropped by Reyes. How about this? Wright and Reyes each with an error in the last 2 innings. See if the Cubs can take advantage. They could not take advantage of the Wright miscue in the 7th.
For Wright, it was his 4th error of the year. For Reyes, just his 2nd. That's about as routine a play as you'll ever see a shortstop boot from our Southwest RoboCam. Just a routine play. Maybe took a peek up to see where Derek Lee was, but whatever the reason, Cubs had the leadoff man on.
Ramirez bats with a runner on and nobody out. Cubs lead 2-1 in the 8th. Big topic in Mets land over the last week. Carlos Beltran recently took Jose Reyes aside and told him, just be yourself. He noticed that Reyes wasn't happy and just said, have some fun. Jose took that to heart, went out, had a 4-hit game against Washington. He had previously tried to tone down some of his celebrating to not cause distractions and upset opposing teams, but Beltran just said, you know what, don't worry about what everybody else says. You have to be yourself. Don't worry about the critics. 2 balls and a strike. There's a fine line there, I know, and we've discussed this before. You don't want to show up another team, but on the other hand, if it adversely affects your play on the field, you do have to be yourself. And if that's how Jose Reyes feels comfortable, then teams are going to have to get used to a lot of high-fiving and elaborate handshakes after home runs. And I don't think anyone accused him of doing what Lasting's Millage did. As Ramirez gets hit by that pitch. That one didn't feel too good. He's going to walk it off. Ouch. He got hit yesterday. Mark O'Neill out quickly.
That's the 4th time this year Ramirez has been plunked. That leads the Cubs. Had nowhere to go on this one. Looked like it caught him on the back of the left elbow. Tried to protect his rib cage.
And athletic trainer Mark O'Neill was out to check on him. 2 on with no outs for Kosuke. Cubs threaten in the 8th, up 2-1.
Mets expecting a bunt.
It would surprise me.
Wright drawn way in at third base. Delgado was playing in front of the runner at first base. Now they both drop back a few steps. Delgado will now position himself behind Ramirez over there at first base. Wright about even with the baseline at third. Now on the edge of the grass. Once again, the unfamiliarity of the league with Kosuke Fukudome, and not sure what he might try to do in this situation.
I don't know how you feel about it, but it seems obvious what Lou thinks. You don't want to take the bat out of his hands.
Well, he's shown that time and time again with Derek Lee, Aramis Ramirez, Fukudome. He's going to let them swing the bats even in what is apparently an obvious sacrifice bunt situation.
Aside from the fact that he is the number 5 hitter, paid to drive in runs, and has a high batting average, there's a chance he could take a walk and load him up.
Well, we've seen him bunt for a base hit already this year too. He's got all the weapons in his arsenal.
Yeah, if he bunts, it'll be for a base hit, or at least the attempt will be there in this at bat. 2-2 now, and he takes the bunt completely away. Heilman steps off. He has the most holds in Mets history. Picked up his 57th over the weekend in Philadelphia. The situation here with his team down a run. He's just trying to hold the Cubs at 2.
Has been a strikeout pitcher throughout the early going this year. 13 punchouts in 12 innings coming into play today.
He likes to use his changeup. Back in 2006, he took the loss in the decisive Game 7 of the NLCS. He allowed a 2-run homer to Yadier Molina of the Cardinals in the top of the 9th. He later said it wasn't the fact that he threw a changeup, but it was the location. It was up. Coming back on a 2-2, another foul. It hits the edge of the dugout and bounds way up into the seats.
Oh my. Thank goodness that hit the edge of the dugout. When Kosuke gets to that 2-strike count, that's an ability to get a piece of the ball, hit those rocket line drives over into his own dugout just to stay alive, force that opposing pitcher to throw one more pitch. He'll slash that one down the third base line.
Chanting Fukudome, being helped out by the organist Gary Pressey. It's 2-2 on him. An error and a hit batter. No hits in the inning. No hits for the Cubs since Kosuke's single back in the 6th. The pitch off the end of the bat, foul. I think Raul Casanova saying, let's try something else.
Yeah, I'm running out of tricks back here. What do you got for me, Aaron? They tried everything they could throw. Kosuke Fukudome, he's fouled off the borderline fastballs. That time a change up and out over the plate. Able to get a piece of that one to stay alive. And the more pitches you force that opposing pitcher to throw, the better chance you have of him making a mistake where you can drive the ball.
Another 2-2. Ground ball, base hit to left. Derek Lee has the brakes put on by Mike Quaddy. They are loaded up for DeRosa.
What a great at bat once again by Kosuke, fouling off all the tough borderline pitches. Finally gets a ball over the plate. That very controlled swing, a lot of risks at the end, just flicks that ball through the left side of the infield. Andy Chavez charging hard out there in left field. No choice but to hold Derek Lee at third base.
We saw 10 pitches from Aaron Heilman, and so did Mark DeRosa from the on-deck circle. Let's see how the Mets play it. They're going to have to bring the infield in. Reyes plays back, or not in as far as the rest of his infield mates. 1 ball, no strikes. The Mets are in a bind here, trailing by a run, and the Cubs have the bases loaded with nobody out. Trying to break it open here. To see where Reyes is, do you think he's giving himself an opportunity to turn a 6-4-3? You would think the Mets are going to go home with it no matter what. Now he's coming in. One and two.
We talked about Fukudome's controlled swing. This is Mark DeRosa letting out a little shaft. He's trying to hit that ball out on the Waveland Avenue right there. Now with 2 strikes, he's going to have to be a little more defensive. He'll do the same thing Fukudome did. Foul off the tough ones. Wait for Heilman to make a mistake.
Derek Lee pointing in the entire Cubs dugout, hoping that was a balk. All the Cubs were pointing at Aaron Heilman. They thought he balked when he pulled his foot off the rubber, but no call made. Here's the pitch. Big strikeout for Heilman. 1 down.
You're right, Len. Everybody on that third base side of the field pointing out toward the mound as Heilman broke contact right here. Oh, yeah, that's a balk. He started with his hands first and then stepped off the back of the rubber after he paused with his hands. They had an argument right there. How do you not see that?
And the Mets now will try to turn that double play to get out of it. Corner man in, double play depth up the middle, slider swing and a miss. Nothing in 2.
It's that changeup you were talking about earlier, Len. Good arm speed from Heilman. Keeps it on the outer part of the plate.
He's not afraid to throw it against righties. Popped him up. Infield fly rule. Castillo with a catch. 2 gone. Well, you just hope we don't sit here and go back to the non-balk call. The Cubs would like to add a few insurance runs, but now there are 2 outs in the inning. Well, it sure looked like Aaron Heilman had balked. If that had been called, it would be 3-1. Looking ahead to the 9th, Castillo, Wright, Beltran due up against Kerry Wood. Well, it's only April 21st, but this has had a little bit of a pennant race feel to it, hasn't it?
There's definitely an edge in the ballpark tonight. A lot of Mets fans wearing their gear, and of course the Cub fans letting them have it, but a very crisply played ball game here.
Lee reached on an error by Reyes. Ramirez was hit by a pitch. Fukudome with a 10-pitch at bat, resulting in a single to left. Then DeRosa struck out and Soto popped out. The kick in the 1-1. Ronnie was late. 1-2. Maybe this will be like that 12th pitch at bat over the weekend against the Pirates. Ronnie was able to hang in there. Eventually took a walk.
He's thrown back-to-back fastballs. Cedeno was late on the first one. He was caught up to that one a little bit more. Allen likes that changeup in two-strike situations. It was right there. Ronnie out in front, hooks a foul down the third base line.
How about that play by Derek Lee? He's the runner at third, and he fielded that ball.
Habits die hard, don't they? You hit a ball anywhere near him, he's going to catch it.
Another 1-2 pitch, another foul.
Good battle here. Ronnie Cedeno's had some real good at bats over the course of this homestand. Really looks like a different hitter at the plate.
Base hit into center. And the Cubs will get two. Ronnie Cedeno got into the lineup about 5 minutes before the first pitch. And he makes it 4-1. Boy, he has really come around. Getting a chance to start a couple of times at second base over the weekend. It's short tonight, and that's a huge hit.
Boy, and another great at bat. Heilman tries to come inside with a fastball. Cedeno takes it right back up the middle of the field. Nice piece of hitting. Short, quick, controlled swing. Yes.
So that'll be it for Heilman. Jorge Sosa, another right-hander, will come in. 4-1 Cubs.
bred some confidence. The confidence has bred more base hits. A great at bat. Drives that ball up the middle of the field to plate a couple of teammates and give Kerry Wood a little breathing room in the bottom half of the inning. It is a perfect two-strike approach for Ronnie Cedeno, something he wasn't able to get a grasp of in years past, but much more quick, controlled swing right there, drove the ball right back up the middle of the field.
Jorge Sosa facing Felix P.A. He's been working on his stroke and his approach at the plate. With Gerald Perry, Lou Piniella, and now minor league hitting coordinator Dave Keller, who has worked with Felix in the past. First and second, 4-1. These are unearned runs because the inning started with a Jose Reyes error. Turned into a big one. And he's in a hitter's count. And he drives that ball deep to right field, and it will get out a home run. Felix excited. And that work paying off. He got into a hitter's count, and Gerald Perry is applauding. 7-1. Boy, did that feel good. That is great to see Felix P.A. with his first home run in a while.
A line drive into the bleachers in right field. It came on a 2-0 pitch. Look at this enthusiasm here. Oh, yeah. Boy, immediate positive feedback out for all the extra work he's done down in the cages before and after ball games. Good to see him get some results during a game.
7-1. Aaron Heilman was a strike away from getting this game to the ninth. With a 2, 3, and 4 hitters coming up for the Mets. Down 2-1. They now trail by 6. Alfonso Soriano loved it. So did Henry Blanco. His third career home run. Well, lately Felix has been all business. It's good to see him just relax a little bit.
Well, hopefully that's just the beginning of many good at-bats. Got himself in a good hitter's count, and rather than swing from his heels and try to hit the ball out onto Sheffield, he just got the barrel of the bat on the ball, drove it out of here on a line to right field. Kerry Wood hasn't pitched in 3 days. So I have to believe he's going to come into this game regardless of the score just to get an inning of work. Sosa looks shell-shocked out there on the mound.
Well, you think about the early April scouting report on Felix P.A. and it would have been you can get him to expand his zone. But he did not do that.
After laying off the first 2 pitches wide of the zone. There's that big leg kick. The front foot is down. Everything becomes a rotation. Head right down the barrel of the bat. Good extension. Our Southwest, how far did it fly? 368 feet to straightaway right field. Had to feel good for Felix P.A.
Bounce to right. What an inning for the Cubs. 5 unearned runs. They took huge advantage of an error and a hit batter to start it. And it was capped by Felix Piet's 3-run blast, 7-1 to the ninth. Kerry Wood in a non-save spot. That's just fine with him, I'm sure. PA and Cedeno coming through. Easy play, Derek Lee. I'm going to heed Lou's advice and not get too crazy. But with those guys coming through, those are the kinds of performances you get in a special sort of year.
Yeah, the fans understand and recognize the struggles that Felix Piet has gone through in the early part of this season, and recognizing one of his best at bats so far this year. Yeah, I mean, you expect Aramis Ramirez to do what he usually does. You expect Derek Lee to do what he usually does, and so forth and so on. But somebody has to be the wild card, whether it's somebody you call up from the minor leagues, a mid-season trade, somebody that has a career year that you didn't expect to have that kind of a season. And certainly wouldn't hurt anything for Ronnie Cedeno and Felix Piet to have the light bulb go on for them this year.
Way up in the air off the bat of David Wright. Fukudome with the catch. That's the 6th time the Cubs have plated 5 or more runs in an inning. By far the most in the National League. And they were all unearned in the 8th. Well, Sosa is charged with 1 earned run and a home run he gave up in his line. Cubs are trying to make it 12 out of 15. It'll be their first 13-6 start in a long time. It's Reed Johnson in left. Beltran out. The Mets done. Cubs win 7-1. And for the first time since 1985, they have started the year 13-6. Been a fun homestand, and they'll cap it tomorrow if they can sweep the Mets. It would be 7-1.
Another good team win for the Cubs today. A lot of contributions up and down the lineup. Aramis Ramirez with his 5th home run of the year. Felix Piet with a big 3-run bomb. Ronnie Cedeno, don't forget his at bat. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle there with the PA home run, but Ronnie Cedeno's great at bat in the 8th inning to drive home a couple of teammates and blow this one wide open.
That's 4 in a row now for the Cubs, who are now 6-1 on this homestand. The first time they were here, they went 3-3. 7-1 the final. We'll have more in a moment.
You can catch it all on WGN. So stand